Fast Cars, Fast Money. We're back, everybody, and we are excited for this Cup race. This is at the Glen. It's a road course. We are looking for drivers that are going to finish high or are going to move up a lot of spots. That's what we're looking for this week at the Glen. Look at the lap data just from the last couple road courses. We've had a few now, and so you can go back and you can see how the drivers did and pay attention to it. Again, no need for dominators. There's only 90 laps in this race, only 90 laps. So it's more about how many spots the drivers move forward and where they finish this week. So if we move on over to the spreadsheet, which you can find on our Twitter page at FastCarsFM, we will now break down the drivers, starting with the highest priced. And let's start with you, Rich, and see what you think about starting off with Kyle Busch there.
Yeah. Kyle Busch, I think he's a great play this week, starting mid-pack. He's been one of the best drivers in the series this year, which is a far cry from his performance last year with no practice. Seems like this year with no practice, he's been able to figure it out. I guess them having a few races with practice has helped them figure their car out a little bit better. But he offers a ton of place differential from his starting spot. Chase Elliott, you can't come to a road course and not talk about Chase Elliott. He's probably the best in the series at road courses. He's starting 11th, so he offers a few points of place differential, at most 10, because, if he wins the race, that would be 10 place differential points. He's a great play this week. We should see him up at the front within no time. Same with Martin Truex. I think Chase has definitely been better on him over the last, 2 years at road courses. So would probably lean Chase over Martin Truex, but, Martin Truex isn't a bad play at all. And then Kyle Larson, he's been by far the best in the series. Seems like other drivers are catching up to him now a little bit, but him starting fourth, he would probably be your early bet to get out front. And if he can hang on to that spot, he'd be a great play. But even if he doesn't, he can still finish second or third and be able to pay off that price tag as long as he picks up a handful of dominator points. And then Kurt Busch starting 17th. Not as interested in him. He does offer a good amount of place differential starting 17th. I think I would prefer William Byron right underneath of him over him, just because we know the Hendrick Motorsports cars are faster. Although it was great to see Kurt win a few weeks ago. Just feel like road courses, I mean, he is a great road course racer. I just would probably rather pay up for the guys above him or go below to William Byron. But if I end at $10,000, say I play two of the top tier drivers and then jam in a few of the value plays and end up with $10,000, I'm going to play Kurt Busch. So.
Yeah, I think you hit that pretty good. I think it's going to be hard this week to cash without Kyle Busch. Starting 20th just offers way too much place differential and potential to win this race. Obviously, you're going to pay for that, but barring catastrophe, I think that could be a pretty good play. And then, guy I like the most out of this after Kyle Busch is probably going to be Kyle Larson, just due to the fact that it's cheap as we've been able to get him in a while. He's starting fourth, so doesn't offer the PD that like Chase Elliott does. Not that it's much, but still something. Points are points. But I just think he's going to get a little overlooked this week, potentially, starting fourth, coming a little lower on than he does. We know he's, probably top 3 or 4 the best road course drivers in the series. So I just think you might be able to get Kyle Larson at slightly deflated ownership compared to like Chase Elliott or Martin Truex, which a little bit of change in ownership can make a big difference in your money when you're splitting the line with fewer people. Coop?
My clear-cut favorite for this group is Chase Elliott. It's a road course. He's really, really good at them. And I will be starting every line with Chase that I have this week. I'm not as interested in Kyle. He offers a little more place differential, but my concern with him is he's got some cars to pass there to get up to the front. And with Kyle, just some of the way that his luck has gone, I would not be surprised to see it happen on a road course again to him. And then my second favorite in this group is probably Martin Truex. Kyle Larson, I think Martin Truex, I would pick whichever driver was starting further back, and that happens to be Martin Truex, and that's the only reason I would go with him over Larson. As you had said, too, I would go Byron over Kurt Busch most likely, but I don't mind either of those drivers. I could go either way. And I don't have much interest in the rest of the 9K drivers there outside of Denny Hamlin, I think he's a great GPP play this week. I think he's one of the other very few drivers that I think that can compete with Chase for the win. And I think that it would be neat to see him get his first win this season at the Glen. So he'd be the GPP play out of the group.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you there, Coop. I think Byron's probably the best play out of this group, but I mean, he's damn near 10K driver being at $9,800. I think it's cool to see Penske starting 1, 2, 3, a little change of pace from the Hendricks domination, even though it was just the drawing race. It wasn't like they qualified to get it, but starts them up there, and I think it kind of takes them out of play this week. I don't see any of the three of those Penske cars really winning this race, and they're going to have to lead a lot of laps and finish top 3 or 4 to pay off with their salaries and their starting spots. They're just once some of these guys, the more PD get up there, which shouldn't take all that long, they're going to lose spots, lose points, and that's going to hurt your line. But I do like Denny starting 6, relatively safe starting spot. He should be able to finish top 6. He's not going to hurt you in that aspect. A little bit cheaper than some of those guys above him, but he's a great driver. He's been super consistent, super good all year. Just has come up a little bit short of getting that win, and this is one of those tracks and just styles of races where Denny could finally get that win. And I have a feeling he comes in relatively low owned because everyone's going to be trying to jam in a couple more of these guys up top. So if you drop to Denny, could get him at pretty low ownership, and if he does go out there and win that race, you could have the winner at low ownership, and that usually leads to good things.
Yeah, you guys made some great points through there. I already talked about Byron. I like Denny Hamlin this week as well. He's definitely a GPP play. It would be really nice to see him get his first one of the year at Watkins Glen. He has been arguably the most consistent outside of Kyle Larson and Kyle Busch every week, just finishing inside the top 10 or top 12, whatever it is. And I think he's still got the points lead on Kyle Larson right now, but if he doesn't get a win and we get a few more different winners coming up to the start of the playoffs, he could be on the outside looking in if Larson passes in points. So he might need to get a win here soon to actually make the playoffs. But if we drop down here to the 8K range, Christopher Bell starting 7th. That limits his upside. I would say he's a GPP play as well. But he is a great road course racer. He won on a road I believe he won at a road course earlier this year. He could probably pick up a couple spots, get a 5th place finish and pay off the price tag, but I would lean towards, him finishing at 7th or 8th or maybe falling to 10th. But Chase Briscoe, he is a great road course racer, and we've seen it this year, even in this car. Every single time we've been to a road course, he seems to run really well. So he would probably be one of, like, if you're playing 2 of the 10K guys, I would probably throw in Briscoe next and then, differentiate with value at the bottom. Ross Chastain's all right. He's just starting a little bit high this week. We've seen him run around that spot just about everywhere. He's been, pretty good on road courses this year. So he would be more of a GPP play.
Yeah, this range, I think Christopher Bell can fight for a top 5, but I just don't think the odds are that high that he wins again at a road course with some of the others that are driving, like Chase, that are starting 11th, not too far behind him. But I don't mind him. And I would rather drop down to Briscoe in this range. I think Briscoe is also very talented at the road courses, and he offers a lot of place differential there, starting 27th. But then I think that there's a lot of GPP potential in this range too. Kevin Harvick at 500, that's really cheap for Kevin Harvick, and he's not a bad road course driver. He's just not had it this year. But as a GPP play, maybe. And same with Chastain and Reddick. I think both of them are fine GPP plays as well. But it's not something that I would bank on for a cash line at all.
Yeah, I think by far my favorite play in this range, and one of my probably more favorite plays on the whole slate, is going to be Chase Briscoe. Like you guys said, just great road course driver. He's been in every road course race this year so far. Offers you a bunch of PDs, reasonably priced. Should fit into a line pretty good with 2 and maybe even 3 of those top tier guys, depending on how you go with the rest of it. But I'll just move on into this 7K range. I think a 7K range is a pretty solid range overall. obviously we got high and medium for all these guys, but let's just start with Busher here, starting 24th. Busher's been running good all year, but he's kind of calmed down a little bit the last month or so. And now he's found himself in a must-win situation to get into the playoffs. So I think he's going to, kind of go all out, try to get that win so he can make the playoffs. Starts 24, so obviously a little bit of PD. I think he's got probably top 15 potential, but he surprised us all year with some of the stuff he's been able to do. Another guy I like that starts to get down into like a really good value play would be McDowell, starting 25th. It's a little bit higher than I like to see him starting, but his price tag's decent, and he's a great road course driver. He's been having a pretty good year overall. Obviously got that victory at Daytona, but just has kind of, they talk about him still, which means he didn't just win that race, and then he's just kind of been hanging out at the back of the pack. He's been competitive. He's had some good top 10 runs. He's cheap, so I think he might get overlooked potentially. You could get a good value play at a lower ownership, which is always a good thing. But another guy I like is going to be Eric Jones as well. He's running the Xfinity race, so he's getting some extra laps compared to some of these other guys. He's not in the greatest equipment this year, but he's been, kind of surprising. Not every week, but he's definitely surprised a little bit this year. Starting 22nd kind of limits his upside a little bit, but I think he can still move up. He's pretty cheap, allows you to get some of those other guys. And then the other guy I like in this range is going to be Matty D. We saw him get to the lead at Road America. We know he's a pretty good road course driver. He's just pretty good driver overall. He's kind of seems to always find himself into some bad luck and stuff, but he likes his package. And he just really needs a win to get that 100th win for the Wood Brothers would be huge. He doesn't have a ride for next year, so he's got to try to figure something out if he wants to stay in the Cup Series. And best way to help find a ride is to get a win and prove that you can win at this level.
I think Busher's my favorite out of this range. But if you can't quite get to Busher, I think all of these guys are decent options. With the exceptions, my least two favorite in the group are probably Newman and Jones. I think I prefer the other drivers a little more. I think Busher and McDowell are the best two, but I'll also say that I think Daniel Suarez is probably even for McDowell with me, but I would go with McDowell because of the price and because he starts a couple spots before. But they're pretty even too. I wouldn't mind if I ended up on Suarez in this range. And the following range, I really don't have much interest in either. Outside of Austin Dillon is about where I would end up if I was going to spend $6K. I don't have too much interest in the $6K range at all.
Yeah. For Ryan Newman starting 28th, I'm actually glad DraftKings priced him up this week because it makes it easier to fade him. If he was $1,000 cheaper, I feel like I would have to play him just because of his starting position and how and his salary. But with him being this expensive, it makes it easier for me to fade him. He just hasn't been good on road courses this year. He hasn't really been great at all this year. He's had a couple good runs, but it just seems like he's been, middling around in the 20 to 25 range for most of the race, and then maybe getting, a 18th or 16th place finish at the end of the race on a restart or something. But I definitely would lean towards Busher and McDowell in this range. We've seen Busher have some really good runs this year, and he is definitely in a must-win situation to get into the playoffs. So he's going to be pushing hard. That could end up hurting him if he ends up wrecking himself in some other cars. And then McDowell as well. I hope he goes a little overlooked this week. He's a pretty good road course racer, and he should be able to race up inside the top 18, maybe even the top 15 by the end of the race. The 6K range is a little rough this week, to be honest. There's not a ton of guys in this range that I love. Austin Dillon would probably be the one that I go to just because this is $1,500 cheaper than we generally see him. Starting 16th, he runs around the 10th to 15th range every single race. So if he picks up a handful of spots, he'll easily pay off that price tag. But if we drop down here into the punt range, I really like James Davison as a punt. He's starting 36, which I believe is dead last in the field. I've said this in every video so far. Every time we go to road courses, it seems like we have we have more wrecks just because guys forget how that they're supposed to be turning right as well as left. So, he should be able to move up inside, the top 28 and be able to pay off. He might even push for top 25, and that'd be great for that price tag. Probably not really interested in any of the other guys. Ryan Preece is all right. He's a decent road course racer. He can move up a handful of spots, but it's probably going to be tough for me to play him this week. I might have him in a line or two. It's just every time when I play Ryan Preece, he does terrible, and then when I don't play him, he does all right. So just to have bad luck with him.
Yeah,
I like Priest this week, and I like LaJoy too. Those are the two that I think I would go to in this range, and I think I might have to with how much I would like to stack some of the top guys. But I would only play one of them, and those are the two that I would go to.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you guys. I think Davison's probably the best play out of this group just because he's a road course guy, usually runs decent, doesn't have to do all that much to pay off that price tag, but he's also the most expensive out of this. But I definitely don't think I would go below Ryan Preece this week. Again, like Rich said, 23rd kind of really limits his upside, but he has shown that he does have the potential to run better than that. He's, had top 10 once this year, I believe, on a road course, and so he has the potential to do it. He's shown flashes before, but just starting 23rd really takes away a lot of that safety net with him, so he'd probably be kind of more of that GPP punt option, but I probably wouldn't go below him. I don't think it's worth it this week. I think there's enough other value in some of the above him, not necessarily value, but just good plays above him that you can get a solid line without having to go too low this week. But yeah, if you guys like this, just like and subscribe. If you want the spreadsheet, just head over to our Twitter at FastCarsFM and check out our Xfinity and Truck Series videos. Those are going to be up as well. And yeah, good luck this week, everybody, and hopefully we'll see you next week.
Good luck, everyone. It is great to have NASCAR back.